Syracuse basketball roster analysis. Who is exceeding expectations, who's meeting expectations, and who's falling short of expectations. Let's break it down.
You are Locked On Syracuse, your daily podcast on the Syracuse Orange. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, everyone, and welcome into Locked On Syracuse. I'm Jackson Holzer. Thank you so much for making us your first listen of every single day here on the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. Of course, we're always free and available wherever you get your podcasts on the #1 sports podcasting network. On today's show, Syracuse basketball player analysis. Whether or not each player on the team is exceeding the expectations we had for them in the preseason, meeting the expectations, or falling short of expectations. All that and more coming up here on today's edition of Locked On Syracuse. And before we get to everything, this episode is brought to you by FanDuel. The college football playoff is here, and FanDuel is the best place to get into the action all playoff long. So visit FanDuel.com to get your college football playoff profit boosts every game day. And for this episode, we are joined by game day producer for Syracuse Sports Talk, and that is Jordan Capozzi. Jordan was actually the person that suggested this topic here on Locked On Syracuse. And so with that said, we had to invite him on here to Locked On Syracuse to break it all down. Let's start with Donnie Freeman. Jordan, is Donnie Freeman in your mind exceeding expectations, meeting expectations, or falling short of expectations?
First of all, Jackson, thank you for the invite, and I appreciate the kind intro because I'm just like a washed up, doing everything part-time guy, but I like game day producer for Q Sports Talk. That sounds official. Donnie's tough, man, because yes, he's playing incredibly well, but while he was injured, it was very evident that this is the Donnie Freeman that people expected. He had to get better, right? You don't just play as a freshman, come in as a sophomore, and you're the same guy. If you do, that's kind of an issue. He'd have an excuse for the injury. Right now, and I don't want to start off negative, I'm kind of at the meeting expectations level, and here's why. He has jumped off the page since returning from injury in ACC play. He was good and he was productive before he left with the injury. However, I don't think he was jumping off the page quite like this. Even when he returned, the first half of Clemson, it's understandable, but he was struggling to get into rhythm. He was taking shots that weren't really necessary. I'm going to call him meeting expectations for now because he's that good. However, if you're getting like 25 and 7 a night out of that guy against like the Dukes and the Clemsons, then he's going to take that step up to exceeding for me. But I have high expectations for Donnie, man. I think we all do.
I had high expectations for Donnie in the preseason, and with all that said, I think he's exceeding them.
Okay.
This is a guy that's averaging over 20 points a game. Last year, he was at 13 points a game. He's also shooting 38% from the three-point line. I get it. It's a little bit more of a small sample with him because of his injury, but 38% from the three-point line, I think, is above what I thought he was going to be. But not only that, I think what separates Donnie this year compared to maybe last year and the expectations we had for him is he is much improved defensively for Syracuse. If you go check Evan Maya over out, that analytical tool that breaks down every single player, I know we all love it. It's definitely a perfect system. It's not perfect. You get the point. But if you go check the tool, Donnie Freeman is the highest rated defensive player for Syracuse basketball. And it's actually a very, very good rating. And so because of his defense, because of the fact that he is shooting 38% from the three-point line, I'm going to say that so far Donnie Freeman, despite his injury, which he obviously cannot control, I'm going to say that he is actually exceeding the high expectations that we had for him. Let's move on now.
Here's where you sell me, Jackson. Before we move on, here's where you do sell me a bit. Because remember last year the narrative was Donnie needs to stop shooting early on. I forgot what game it was, but early in the season, he kept firing threes and people wanted him to stop. He's come in, and as you said, he's shooting 38% because of what we've seen from Nate Kingz, who's going to be an interesting one to discuss. Donnie's the second most reliable three-point shooter on the team. And let's be honest, Betsy will have cold games. There are games Donnie will be the number one. If he keeps shooting at this clip, then he's definitely going to exceed. Because of the break, I'm not ready yet, but I'm not arguing it.
Fair enough. Let's move on to Syracuse's most prized transfer portal addition from the offseason. No, it is not Akir Suare. It's actually his teammate, Naithan George from Georgia Tech. In your mind, this is going to be very interesting. Is he exceeding expectations, meeting expectations, or falling short of expectations?
I don't want to keep giving you cold takes, but I'm going to give him right now, because of the inconsistency, I'm going to say George is meeting expectations because he struggled with the scoring early. We've seen the turnover issues. But against a team like FSU, we saw what he can do. He really just gives everybody else opportunities. He's comfortable moving up and down the floor. He can play fast. And we do see those games where he's feeling it with his shot and he can create a little. Because of the slow stretch that he had, I don't feel comfortable saying he's exceeding. Because, as you said, he was their most coveted addition out of the portal. And it took him a little too long for me to give him exceeding. So I'll say he's meeting them because now we're seeing what he is. If he can just be a little more consistent in terms of the scoring, because some games he's doing it, some games it's just baffling the shots he's taking versus turning down. If he can do that, he can be exceeding. But he's meeting them right now. He's the floor general.
He is a floor general, but I have to be a little bit harsher on Naithan George.
Really?
It's not to say that he is a bad basketball player or that I'm not happy that he is our point guard, but he is falling short of expectations so far this season.
Really?
His points per game are down. His assists per game are down. His field goal percentage is up from a year ago. But I was hoping that he was going to take a step up, maybe with his three-point shooting, especially towards the second half of last season. He was getting better at Georgia Tech with that. And right now, it's at 32% from the three-point line. A year ago, he was at 34%. Obviously, there is still time for Naithan George to make up that percentage. Just, have one game where you go 3 or 4 from 3, and that can completely change. But right now with Naithan George, he had high expectations. And I think we could all argue that he was maybe going to come into the year and potentially be an all-ACC player. I don't know if he is an all-ACC player. I think he's a good player. I think he is solid for Syracuse. He's definitely up and down, and I think the fact that he is up and down is what contributes to the fact that he is so far falling short of expectations. But there's a difference, by the way, Jordan, between falling short of expectations and actually hurting the team, which I know you have thoughts on.
Yeah, and I think one thing that's going to be interesting here is I'm treating this ACC play with Donnie as totally different, and that makes it tough to analyze it a little bit because let's be real, will George continue to fall short now that he's not the number 2 option? So that's something. I'm taking this 3-game stretch we've seen, and I'm weighing it a lot more than the percentage of games it is. But in terms of hurting the team, you're right, and that's where this came from. Like, I'm sick of hearing that JJ Starling is hurting the team. Does he need to play better? Yes. Is he hurting the team to where you don't want him out there? I think you're nuts if you're saying that. He's ramped up the defensive intensity. He is the most consistent guy in terms of penetrating and getting to the rim and getting easy buckets. Kiyan can do it, but it's a little riskier. The turnovers for the time played for Kiyan more than JJ. Same with Kingz. Like, is Kingz shooting how he should? No, and it's very disappointing. However, I don't think people are being fair when it comes to his defense. He's going out there and rebounding more than the rest of the guards. And look, you need somebody else to rebound besides your big men. And he's going and he's grabbing 4 or so a game. I don't think anybody's hurting the team except, like, if you expected Luke Fennell to be a contributor and he's unplayable, you could make that argument. Some people might have expected him to play a little bit. Some people didn't. I don't know what's right and what's not. I find it hard to believe that the plan was to have Kyan and JJ come in and be the only other option at point guard. I feel like somewhere along the line, Fennell was hopefully supposed to be playable, but that's the closest you can get. So that's been annoying me. Stop saying guys are hurting the team because they have roles and they're helping. They're just not playing up to what they should be.
I would say with Naithan George, to your point, I mean, he's not hurting the team, but you know that whenever he's out there on the floor, he is good for at least one turnover every game where you're left scratching your head wondering, I don't get what he's doing. It's like every game, he's crossing half court and he just makes a really dumb decision with the basketball, and you know you're due for it at least once a game. And of course, didn't you have that donut against Hofstra?
Exactly, but again, like that was first of all, everybody had
that has to go into his grade so far this season. I mean, it kind of cost him in that game.
I'm not going to disagree with you there. Again, it's tough for me to completely blame some of these guys how they played before Donnie was healthy or in that stretch that he wasn't, and even just before ACC play. But I agree, he's definitely had his bad moments and he hasn't been perfect. But I also think in terms of what you expected from Nate George, right? You expected a guy who was going to come in, be able to handle the ball, be able to score a bit. He's at times the only guy who can hit a free throw, which cannot be understated on this team. So I'm not ready to be like he's not playing well enough. I think he could be a little better, but I think he's bringing you what you were promised. Just like I said, I do need a little more of the scoring. But I can see with the turnovers especially why you'd be thinking he's below expectations.
Fair enough. So far we are 0 for 2 in terms of whether or not we agree. You said Donnie Freeman is meeting expectations. I say he's exceeding them. You are saying that Naithan George is also meeting expectations. I am saying he is below expectations. Coming up, we got plenty of more players that we have to analyze here on Locked On Syracuse as we're going through player by player and whether or not they are meeting our expectations from the preseason. All that and more coming up here on Locked On Syracuse. The college football playoff is here, and FanDuel is giving all customers even more ways to get in on the action every single game day of the playoffs. Because right now, every college football playoff game day, FanDuel users get a profit boost waiting for them in the app. And here's what I love about it. You get to use the profit boost on the bets you already feel good about or build a parlay around the players and moments you think will decide the game. Then you apply the profit boost and go after even bigger winnings. And when you win, FanDuel pays out instantly, which is perfect for playoff football. FanDuel is the best place to get into the action all playoff long, so visit FanDuel.com to get your college football playoff profit boosts every game day. Jackson Holzer, Locked On Syracuse. That is Jordan Capozzi, Syracuse Sports Talk Game Day producer. We have discussed Donnie Freeman and Naithan George and whether or not they are exceeding our expectations, meeting expectations, or falling short of expectations. Let's move on to Kyan Anthony. Jordan, your thoughts?
Kiyan is tough. This one involves some context. So I think everybody was very excited for Kiyan to come in. And I was excited, but I was a little cautious personally. I was of the belief that, look, star ratings and all that aren't everything, but you had to remember Sadique White was rated higher than Kiyan. And I personally, yes, there have been some turnovers. I did not come in. Maybe it's just from watching a lot of Jim Boeheim coach basketball, by the way. I didn't expect Kiyan to come in and be a guy who you need him in stretches. And there are times where, Kiyan is the straw that's stirring the drink a little bit. He has stretches where he's the only guy who can go and give him a few buckets. I'm going to say Kiyan, for me, is exceeding expectations, but that is because I came in with a cautious approach. I wasn't expecting him to, be a guy you needed out there playing 20 minutes a game. I think part of it was we got to see him with real time out there developing during the Starling injury. And so I'm going to give Kiyan exceeding, but the caveat is I don't think I was ready to just put a crown on him yet like a lot of others were.
Well, we are about to be 0 for 3 because I'm not going to say he's exceeding expectations, but I'm also not going to say he is falling short of my expectations. If you thought that Kyan Anthony was going to be like his father as a true freshman, well, Sorry to disappoint, but that was never a realistic expectation for Kyan Anthony. His father was the number 1 overall player in high school when he came over to Syracuse. Kyan Anthony around the 30s when he came to Syracuse. And so when you come over and you're around the 30s in recruiting rankings, I'm expecting someone who can be a valuable contributor off the bench. And I think that is exactly what he is. He is someone that can come off the bench and maybe provide some scoring. He's going to have some really good nights where you're thinking, man, we got to play this guy more. He's giving you 15 a game. And then he's going to have some nights where he can't defend and he is 0 for 7 from the field and he's turning the ball over and you're left scratching your head wondering, how was this guy rated a high-end 4-star recruit? And so when you, in totality, look at Kyan Anthony's season so far through 17 games and you look at his averages, he's averaging about 10 points a game, 44% from the field. The one thing I ding him on is the free throw shooting at about 61%. That's not good enough.
And the three-point shooting. He
and
needs
the three-point
to be better
shooting, too. You're right.
That's
You're absolutely
24%.
right. Yeah, let me look at that right now. Yeah, no, 23%. It's actually worse.
Yeah.
23.4. But regardless, in totality, my expectations also weren't super ridiculously high for Kyan Anthony heading into the season. And so therefore, with how he is playing, I'm going to say he is meeting expectations. Now, Jordan, this next player that we're going to talk about, I am almost 1,000% sure we are going to agree. All right?
Okay, then I know who it is then.
William Kyle.
Yeah. We finally got one.
We got one. I mean, he's falling short of expectations, right?
I'm glad you read my mind. No, it's so funny, man. Like before the season, and I'm not saying this is a slight at fans because I was skeptical too. Like, this guy is not very tall. Does Alex Klein really know what's going on here? This guy, what did he do at UCLA? That's awesome. He was great for South Dakota State. But what about his time playing against the big boys? And man, UCLA, they messed up not putting him out there more because he's totally just unbelievable, dude. The athleticism is unreal. Like 3 blocks a game, almost double-digit scoring, and he doesn't shoot jumpers. It's just all energy, and he has the best timing. And I'm only 29, right? But of guys I've watched closely, like actually gone to games, watched every game, I don't know if I've seen a guy with better timing in terms of rebounding and being able to catch oops and do something with it. Those putback dunks, obviously. He's just phenomenal, and Klein nailed it. Autry nailed it. William Kyle's nailing it. We do need to see what it looks like against teams that have dominant big men, Duke caliber big men. But I think he's up to the task, and I certainly wasn't ready to say that when they signed him.
I think he's more than up to the task. I mean, he's 6'9", but I can he jump 5 feet in the air?
He had a block
his hand was the top of the backboard.
Yeah, unreal.
Unbelievable. I mean, let's put it in context here. So obviously William Kyle is clearly exceeding expectations. The expectation for William Kyle heading into the season was, all right, can he maybe give us 20 to 25 minutes and give us 5 points, 5 rebounds, and some solid defense? Can he just do that? That's all we're asking for him to do. William Kyle this season is averaging a shade under 10 points a game. He is leading the nation in blocks per game at 2.9. He is shooting 66% from the field, which is what we actually expected from him. He's a very efficient player. But he's also giving you about 8 rebounds a game. So 10 and 8 in about 28 minutes a game. This guy is a diamond in the rough that they got in the transfer portal. He is a big reason why Syracuse basketball has actually an outside shot at getting into the NCAA tournament conversation right now. William Kyle has maybe not been Syracuse's best player because that is Donnie Freeman. He's been their most consistent from wire to wire from the start of the season. William Kyle has been their most consistent player. Agree or disagree?
I'll definitely agree with that. You definitely know what you're getting. The only thing I don't need that I'm seeing more these last few games is, he's playing great. We don't need to post him up and, base offensive possessions around him trying to be Hakeem Olajuwon. Let's slow down there.
I agree on that. I think we're good with where William Kyle is at right now. If we try to make him more than what he is, I think all of a sudden he could lose effectiveness. Catch lobs, set screens, play great defense, get rebounds. William
And
Kyle
energy, man.
and
like
energy.
A team
absolutely.
that like Kyan and Sadiq, and it's still a fairly young team. Donnie's just a sophomore. How many times have we watched Syracuse teams the last few years that just struggled with momentum and attitude? And like when William Kyle does some of the things he does, it's just infectious and it helps the whole team. Not to make the easy comparison, but it's like one of those plays when you're playing 2K, you have a highlight play and everybody gets ratings boost. That's what William Kyle's big plays do.
You're exactly right. All right, this next player, this one is very controversial. Nate Kingz.
I wanted to come into this. So I had this originally on a 5-point scale where 1 was hurting the team and 2 was slightly below, right? I really want to put him at meeting because, I mean, look, he carried their offense in what their biggest win of the season is so far in the first half. They don't beat Tennessee without him going out there and carrying them. And his defense, I still think it is vital to this team, especially when, let's be real, like the 3 guards, some of them go through stretches where they're just not doing it. They like JJ's up the intensity. Kyan's just not always great. Nate George, he is what he is. So you need Kingz out there, but we're going off expectations. The expectations was that when Nate Kingz is open in the corner, he's making that, and you have to have a guy glued to him. He is not doing that. I don't think he's hurting the team. I can't say he's meeting expectations because of what they were. He's not been a knockdown shooter. He's given you more in other areas, in my opinion, than you thought you'd get. But no, he's not doing what he came in to do.
I think you nailed it. Nate Kingz has been different than what we have expected. But he is, even with good defense, even with the fact that, yeah, he had that great first half against Tennessee, which ultimately helped them to win that game, he's falling short of expectations. Because last year at Oregon State, he shot nearly 45% from the three-point line. On high volume, too, on over 4 attempts a game. This year at Syracuse, Nate Kingz, on nearly 5 3-point attempts per game, is shooting 31% from the three-point line. 31%. I get he can provide good defense. I get he's actually better with the ball than I think we all realized. But at the end of the day, he's got to be able to shoot better. And 31% is not good enough. If Nate Kingz was shooting 37% right now, I would say he's exceeding expectations. If he was shooting around 34, 35%, I would say he's meeting expectations because of all the other things that he can do. But because he is shooting 31%, which is such a low percentage, especially if you are shooting 5 3-point attempts a game, that's hurting Syracuse's offense. It's not hurting the team in general, but it is hurting their offense a little bit because you need guys who can go out and space the floor. And we'll talk about Tyler Betsey later on here on this podcast. But if Tyler Betsey's not on the floor and Donnie Freeman is in the paint, who's going to shoot? Who on this team? It was supposed to be Nate Kingz, and it has not been him this season.
And he's not missing tough shots either. That's what really hurts him is like he is open in the corner, and you don't even when he shoots it think he's going to make it. That's what's really tough. If he just made his open corner threes he's gotten this year, he's probably around where JJ Starling is shooting percentage-wise, which is a disgusting sentence that hurt me to say.
You're spot on. So I think we're both in agreement with Nate Kingz that he is below expectations.
But not hurting the team. So quit telling me he's terrible, everybody, because I'm sick of it. I know he's not shooting well, but he's doing other things, and you need guys to do that.
I would say, back to my original point, he's only hurting the team in terms of floor spacing. But in terms of everything else, he actually is a positive contributor, but he's got to shoot a whole lot better. Coming up, we still got more players to talk about here on Locked On Syracuse, so stick with us here on Locked On Syracuse. All right, we still got plenty more players to talk about. That is Jordan Capozzi, Q Sports Talk Game Day producer. I'm Jackson Holzer, Locked On Syracuse. We left off at Nate Kingz. So far, we've done Donnie Freeman, Naithan George, Kyan Anthony, William Kyle, and Nate Kingz. The two that we have agreed upon, Jordan, is that William Kyle is exceeding expectations and Nate Kingz is falling short of our expectations. Let's go to Akir Suare. I think this one we're also going to agree. What is it for you?
I don't know. He hasn't been phenomenal, but when he came to this team, I thought he was nothing more than, and I don't mean this to sound harsh, but this was, you got Nate George, the guy you really wanted. Oh, his teammates coming in. That's cool. I guess I'm going to go with meeting expectations, but part of me wants to lean. It's on the higher end of that because no, he's not scoring, but like he has stretches in the game where he's really making a difference defensively. And I think he's giving you decent minutes. I think the question coming into the season was, are they going to have enough at center to where is Donnie going to have to fill in at center and do that? At least I was thinking that. Kyle's been out of his mind, but I think Suare is like serviceable. And I don't know how much I expected coming into the season. I thought he was just a +1, honestly. So I'll say he's meeting expectations, right? But I think he deserves credit because he has carved out a little role, and he's done it without scoring.
The expectations for Suare were not high going into this season, okay? So when I sit here and say that he is meeting expectations, it is not me saying that he is playing better than Naithan George. That is not true. We are judging them based on what we thought about them in the preseason. So Akir Suare is meeting the expectations. When he was at Georgia Tech, he was known as someone who was a really good defender when he was on the court, but also one of the worst players on offense in the ACC. I'm not joking. You can go look at the analytics. It backs it up. He was awful offensively.
I saw the corner three, Jackson. I believe you.
Yeah, the corner three. I'm glad you mentioned that. It wouldn't change my opinion about him either way, but Akir Suare, yeah, he is a bad offensive player, but we were not asking him to be a good offensive player. We were saying when William Kyle is not on the court, can you provide good defense in place of him? And he's done exactly that. So he's providing good defense. He can rebound. He can block a shot here and there. I will say that Akir Suare, for what we asked of him in the preseason, he is meeting expectations.
And that's why I almost leaned above because we expected like nothing, and he's undoubtedly giving you something. Like he has a role.
He has a role, but I thought he was going to have a role. And in good conscience, I can't say someone's exceeding expectations when he's not even averaging 1 point a game. I can't do it. I can't do it. I can't. Akir Suare, thank you for meeting your expectations. You're good on your quota. You know you are not doing more. You just check the box. Sadique White, what do you think?
This is the toughest for me because I didn't know what to expect from him coming in. Like we knew he was good, but I think his offensive game was a mystery. I'll say this, he's certainly not exceeding expectations for me. I hope that's not controversial. I might just be really angry because I still think that tech he picked up against FSU was inexcusable, and a lot of people think it was soft, but you can't walk past the ref yelling stuff about him. And the maturity is an aspect, and he needs to reel it in. I'm going to say meeting because I think it would be really harsh for me to say that he's below expectations as a freshman coming in. But I just expected a little more consistency. Like I expected him to, if he's wide open from three, be able to knock it down. I expected him to be able to stay in games longer. His fouling is out of control, and it's not always his fault. He gets the most bad calls, it feels like, in college basketball. I'm going to say he's meeting them, but this is going to be kind of an oxymoron. I might have been expecting a little more, but I can't say he's falling short because I didn't know what to expect, and he is important to the team in a few ways.
Well said. I will say that he is also meeting expectations. I think with his offensive game, it was a mystery, and so I interpreted the mystery as it's going to be a work in progress when he gets to Syracuse, because if the scouting report of Sadique White was he's really good offensively, then we would be expecting him to be really good offensively. When it's a mystery, that's a fancy way of experts telling you that he's probably going to need some work when he gets to Syracuse offensively. And so that's how I interpreted it. So I'm not worried about his offense. Hopefully it grows over time. And certainly if Sadiq was with Syracuse next year, we will expect more from him offensively. It's the defense. We needed him to at least be a really good defender off the bench, because one of the concerns heading into the season was the team defense in general. How many of the players were actually good defenders? Sadiq was one of the guys where we needed him to be a good defender. And for the most part, he has been a solid to really good defender for Syracuse. So with that said, given his preseason expectations, I would say that he is meeting them. He's not exceeding. He's not falling short. He's playing his role. He's playing good defense. He's coming off the bench for Donnie. Overall, I would say he has been meeting the expectations. This one I think we can agree upon, again, because we're on a little bit of a streak now of agreeance here. Tyler Betsey.
I hope we are, because I'm confused with him. And the guys were telling me how great of a shooter he was. And by that, I mean, like at media day, they were saying the players, he's one of the best shooters they've seen. Am I a prisoner of the moment if I say exceeding? Because I don't think we knew as people who were prepared to watch this team what to expect coming in. And now we're at the point where he's your most trustworthy three-point shooter. And given the fact that Donnie's going to be around a 20 per game guy, hopefully, Betsy is the guy. He's your pop-off candidate every game. He's the guy who he really can go out there and take over a game. I'm going to say he's exceeding because, again, like I didn't come into this season thinking he'd be, the guy they're playing the most off the bench or needing to score the most off the bench. So I'll give him exceeding, right?
We're in agreement.
Okay. I was worried because he was a good shooter. So, and he's really only offering shooting if we're being honest, but he's doing it at such a high level that, okay, I'm glad we're on the same page.
The thing with Tyler Betsey was he was maybe hyped up to be a really good shooter, but he, before Syracuse, before this season, I get it was only 1 year at Cincinnati, he was only the idea of a good shooter. He shot 32% from the three-point line last year at Cincinnati. So I'm not going to sit here and say going into the year, I thought that all of a sudden, yeah, he's gonna do it. He's going to be a great shooter for Syracuse. I'm not going to sit here and say he's been amazing for Syracuse. He certainly had his moments, whether it's been good, whether it's been bad. He had that clutch shot against Houston to tie the game earlier this season that we all forget about now because Syracuse lost that game, but it was a very, very clutch shot that he hit that tied the game. But he is giving them overall 8 points a game off the bench. I don't think we expected that. And he is shooting 41% from the three-point line on nearly 5 3-point attempts a game. He's shooting the percentage we thought Nate Kingz was going to shoot in the beginning of the season. So he's not a good defender. He doesn't provide much other than shooting. But his expectation was, hope that he's going to be something like a valuable contributor off the bench. And I think he's done that and more with his three-point percentage being at 41% right now. Can he maintain that throughout the season, especially because if Nate Kingz, if he can't up that three-point percentage, it's going to put even more on Tyler Betsey to keep it up at 41%. Another controversial one, though, coming up. You already mentioned him earlier in the podcast. JJ Starling.
So, again, JJ was one of the guys I was thinking about when the hurting the team argument, and I don't feel comfortable saying that. I will give him this. His catch and shoot ability, he's a competent shooter. And I will give you this. The defense, the intensity has picked up. It's still not perfect, but it's picked up. He clearly cares about it. If you had asked me before this ACC stretch, I'm probably going to give him meeting expectations. But now is when he needs to be stepping up, and he's just not doing that. I'm going to say that he is below expectations because you expected him and Donnie to be that 1-2, and right now JJ looks more comparable to the guys around Donnie, in my opinion, than being the 1-2 that I think was expected. I'm going to go below expectations for JJ. He could also go out there and play 3 games where he looks like the old JJ from last season, and he could be right back there. So it's tough.
The thing with JJ last season was he was by far and away the number one option, especially when Donnie Freeman was injured for half the season. And so as a result, I think his numbers were very inflated. That coming into the year, given the talent that they did add to this team, and combined with the Donnie Freeman taking a step up, I didn't expect that he was going to be able to replicate 17 a game. If he was able to replicate 17 a game, either Naithan George quite literally fell off a cliff, Nate Kingz fell off a cliff, William Kyle is not giving you 10 points a game. But as a result, because there are other better players now around JJ, he is not going to average what he averaged last season. So I'm going to say that he is meeting my expectations. But he hasn't done enough to be able to say that he's exceeding them. But the signs are there that he is actually having quietly, keyword is quietly because no one's really talking about it, but he's quietly having a pretty solid season this year. He's averaging 11 points. His defense is significantly better than it was the previous couple of years we've seen from him at Syracuse. He is shooting 34% from the three-point line, which is a career high for him. And his three-point attempts have also gone down to about 3 a game. Last year was at 5.5. So that's good. He's not taking as many threes. He's not a great three-point shooter, so keep that number down. And 45% from the field. I'm going to say he's meeting expectations.
I can't give him that at 11 a game, man. Like, I get it. They have more talent, and I know he was forced to score last year, but I can't give him meeting expectations at 11 a game. Like, did you expect JJ? I expect it to be more of him and Donnie. Maybe it's just because the 2 guys returning, the 2 guys who have spent time with the team. We know that Autry loves JJ, but I was expecting him to rise close to the level of Donnie, and he's mixing in more with everybody else on the team. That's my problem. When Donnie was out, he had his I'm back moments. Did you forget who I am? He's not having those anymore. Like, he's not really taking over for stretches. I mean, even, there were a couple of games where he just came out and he really jump-started the game for them. You're seeing a good basketball player. I think I expected more than a good basketball player from JJ.
And I think that he is just a good basketball player.
Okay.
I didn't think he was more. I think last year it was a product of the team maybe that was around him. And so he was forced to do a whole lot more than really what he's capable of. I think you look at him this year and he's just a more efficient, better defensive version of what he was a couple of years ago when Judah Mintz was on the team and Malik Brown and Quadir Copeland. And as a result, he was giving you 13 a game. So, yes, that number 11 a game, could it be better for JJ? Sure. But that's only going to come if his shot attempts go up. And right now he is shooting less than 10 shot attempts per game. You have other players in the team that need the rock, or that at least maybe they don't need it, but they certainly want it, and they're getting it. And so there's only so many shots to go around. And so I look at JJ and I say, I didn't expect that he was going to have the same role, nor did I really think that he was some great basketball player. I think he is a good basketball player, and that's what he has been. Jordan, last thoughts.
Oh gosh, I don't have a lot of thoughts. I'll do this. Can I pitch? Can I just pitch on your podcast? I'm doing a little show. I'm going to do it anyway, and you can just cut it. I'm doing a show with Brian Higgins. It's a good time. Transfer Portal Syracuse. We go live on his YouTube, usually Wednesday nights at 8 p.m. Unless there's a game, we go to Thursday. So come hang. We're pretty casual. We talk a little football, a little basketball. We disagree on football. I'm not too upset with what they've done now. I know you seem a little down on it. Not a lot of splashes. We don't want to go another half an hour, but yeah, that's my pitch. It's called Transfer Portal Syracuse. So those are my thoughts on the portal, and tune in, come hang with me and Brian, and keep doing your thing, Jackson. Now that I'm like retired full-time from the game, I've enjoyed tuning in and just getting your thoughts, because you always have tended to be a different opinion, which is needed. So thanks for having me, and keep doing your thing.
The irony of all these differing opinions is that on a lot of these players, we actually agreed.
Yeah.
It's pretty funny how it works. Sometimes I can actually agree with people, but Jordan, I mean, best of luck with everything in the future. Thank you so much for taking the time to hop on. And if it makes you feel better, no, I will not be cutting out your tease of your own show. So yes, it will run on Locked On Syracuse. But since we've been recording for nearly 50 minutes, I am certainly going to have to split it up maybe into a couple of podcasts. But folks, thank you all so much for watching. Thank you all so much for listening. It's not your fault. It's my fault. But anyway, thank you all so much for watching. Thank you all so much for listening. If you like this podcast, be sure to hit that like button. If you really enjoy the podcast, be sure to hit subscribe. Tell all your friends about Locked On Syracuse. We'll see you all again soon.